They laughed when she entered the boardroom, the only black woman in a sea of white suits. They called her diversity quota, whispered that she didn't belong. But what they didn't know was that she owned the company they were trying to buy. And tonight she'd remind them who she was. The city outside pulsed with power, glass towers slicing through a silver Manhattan dawn. Inside, the boardroom smelled of polished wood, espresso, and quiet arrogance. 12 men sat around the table, voices crisp, laughter rehearsed. Every word was coated with entitlement. At the far end, Dr. Alana Pierce, 38, sat perfectly still, posture straight, expression unreadable. Her navy suit was understated, her hair pulled back in a neat twist. Her presence commanded attention, even from those who refused to grant it. The quarterly merger meeting had just begun. A multi-billion-dollar acquisition was on the table, one that Alana had architected over months of strategy, sleepless nights, and back-to-back negotiations. Yet, as slides flickered on the giant screen, her work was being presented by someone else. "Let's all thank Marcus for leading this initiative," the CEO said, nodding toward a tall man with slicked-back hair and a self-satisfied grin. Marcus smiled, glancing at Alana. "Couldn't have done it without the team," he said. The word team hung in the air like a blade, sharp, dismissive, pointed. No one corrected him. Alana adjusted the pen in her hand, the only movement she allowed herself. She knew this routine well, the polite erasure. Her contributions repackaged, her presence reduced to optics. As the presentation continued, the jokes became more careless. "So, Alana," Marcus said suddenly, turning toward her, "since this deal involves some of your community-based partners, maybe you can give us the diversity spin?" Laughter rippled around the table. Low, comfortable, dangerous. Her jaw didn't move. "The spin," she replied softly, "is profit. $1.4 billion in projected net over 3 years. If you can keep up." The laughter faltered. Someone cleared his throat. The CEO forced a chuckle. "Let's stay professional, folks." But the damage was done the moment branded. The meeting continued with artificial smiles and hollow applause. When it ended, Alana packed her folder quietly and rose to leave. As she passed Marcus, he leaned in. "Don't take it personal, Pierce," he murmured. "You're doing great. For the company image." She didn't respond. She didn't have to. The silence was its own message. Outside, the elevator mirrored her reflection. Calm, poised, but beneath that calm simmered a storm that had waited years to rise. She'd faced this before. As a black intern ignored in rooms she later came to own. As a PhD candidate whose research was stolen and published under another's name. She had learned to master her rage, to let it fuel her precision, not her destruction. And in that mirrored reflection, she whispered, almost to herself, "Let them laugh. They're laughing at their own fall." Came on a Tuesday afternoon. A corporate memo, subject line, "Lunch debrief." It wasn't meant for her. But the intern who sent it had accidentally hit reply all. She opened it. Inside were 2 paragraphs that would rewrite everything. "Honestly, she's the best PR move we've made in years," Marcus had written. "Let the papers call it representation. We'll call it leverage." A reply followed from the CFO. "As long as she stays quiet and looks good on the brochure, she can sit anywhere she wants." Her hands froze on the mouse. The words burned. There it was in plain text. The corporate mockery that millions of black professionals knew existed but rarely saw written down. She stared for a long time. Then slowly she smiled, not out of humor but clarity. For years she believed she could change the system from within. But now she realized, to change the system she would have to expose it. She didn't print the email. She forwarded it to her personal encrypted drive, time-stamped, archived. Then she began collecting more. Every offhand comment, every microaggression masked as mentorship. She gathered them like evidence in a trial that hadn't yet begun. She stayed silent. No confrontation. No HR complaint. Just patience. Because power wasn't in speaking too soon. It was in timing the truth. Days turned into weeks. Her team prepared for the company's biggest investor summit. A televised event with press, shareholders, and partners. The same men who mocked her would be on that stage, parading her work as their success. They didn't know that their microphones would soon broadcast their downfall. The morning of the summit glowed golden against the skyline. The hotel ballroom gleamed with crystal chandeliers and velvet carpets. Reporters gathered. Cameras blinked red. Alana arrived early, blending into the hum of staff and coordinators. Her ID badge gleamed under her jacket, her expression unreadable. On stage, Marcus rehearsed his lines, voice booming through the speakers. This merger represents innovation, inclusivity, and integrity. Alana almost laughed at the word integrity. When the event began, the CEO took center stage. The audience applauded, cameras flashed, and one by one, the executives took turns boasting about the company's diversity, progress, and leadership. They used Alana's slides, her research, her metrics, her voice erased and replaced. She watched from the back, hands clasped, eyes steady. Every sentence that stole her work was a match struck against gasoline. Then the moment came. The CEO smiled. And now let's welcome Dr. Alana Pierce, the face of our diversity initiative. A polite smattering of applause. She walked slowly toward the stage. Every step echoed. Every heartbeat matched the rhythm of a reckoning. As she reached the podium, Marcus leaned in with that same smug grin. "Keep it short," he whispered. She adjusted the mic. "Good evening," she began. Her voice carried effortlessly. Calm, resonant, impossible to ignore. "When I joined this company, I was told I represented progress. I thought that meant fairness, equality, respect. But what I learned," she paused, "is that representation without respect is decoration." The room stirred. Cameras tilted forward. "Tonight, I was asked to speak about our merger. But instead, I'd like to talk about the people behind it." She pressed a button on the podium. The screen behind her flickered. The corporate logo disappeared, replaced by an email chain. Marcus's name. The CFO's reply. The words PR move in 72-point font. Gasps erupted. The audience leaned forward. Photographers clicked furiously. Marcus shot to his feet. "Turn that off," he barked. But she wasn't done. "This is what progress looks like here," she said, her tone steady. "A room where the only black woman at the table is a talking point, not a partner." Security hesitated near the side, unsure whether to act. The CEO's face drained of color. Then she clicked again. Another document appeared, a contract. Her name at the top. Her signature. Dr. Alana Pierce, 51% controlling partner. Apex Dynamics merger agreement. The silence was deafening. The same men who laughed at her were now frozen, realizing they had handed control of the entire merger to the woman they mocked. And the cameras were still rolling. "This contract," Alana said, tapping the screen, "was finalized 6 weeks ago. It grants ownership to the entity that contributed the intellectual property, which, as every investor here knows, came from my division. That makes my controlling partner effective immediately." Murmurs swelled. Phones lifted. The live stream chat exploded. Marcus stumbled forward, face red. You manipulated this." "No," she said evenly. "You underestimated it." The CEO tried to recover. "Dr. Pierce, perhaps we can discuss this privately." She cut him off gently. "No, we'll discuss it publicly." Since the humiliation was public. Applause broke somewhere in the back. One clap. Then another. Then more. Her voice softened but didn't tremble. "Every black woman who has ever sat in a meeting and watched her ideas stolen. This moment is for you. Every professional is told to smile while being silenced. This is yours too." She looked toward Marcus. "You called me a PR hire. Let me show you what good PR looks like." She nodded to the tech team. The live feed projected her screen to the global investor broadcast. Within seconds, hashtags erupted online. Hashtag #PiercePower, hashtag corporate racism exposed, hashtag ShownIt. The CFO whispered frantically to staff. The CEO's mic cut off mid-sentence. The press smelled blood. Alana stood still, poised, unapologetic. And then, as the final slide appeared, she dropped the last truth. "I am exercising my controlling rights to dissolve all executive contracts effective immediately, including yours." The crowd gasped audibly. Marcus staggered backward. "You can't." She turned to him. "You should have read the fine print." The audience erupted, gasps, murmurs, disbelief, awe. Cameras flashed like lightning. One journalist shouted, "Dr. Pierce, is this for real?" She looked into the lens. Very real. And very overdue. Within minutes, social media lit up. Clips of her speech spread like wildfire. The live chat filled with comments. She's a legend. This is history. Black excellence personified. By the time she stepped off stage, the company's stock ticker had frozen. The financial world was watching. Behind her, Marcus stood trembling, his empire dissolving live on camera. And Alana? She walked off the stage without a word. Because power, she believed, doesn't need noise. By evening, the story had gone global. News anchors repeated her name like a mantra. Dr. Alana Pierce, the woman who turned humiliation into justice. The CEO resigned. The CFO vanished from press conferences. Marcus deleted his accounts. In an emergency statement, the board confirmed that Alana Pierce had lawfully assumed majority ownership of Apex Dynamics. Her photo, once buried at the bottom of the corporate website, now headlined Forbes, CNN, Bloomberg. But Alana wasn't celebrating. She sat alone in her apartment that night, city lights glittering beyond the window. Her phone buzzed endlessly, messages, interviews, offers. She ignored them all. On her table lay a single framed photo. Her grandmother, a civil rights nurse who once said, "We fought for seats in the bus. You fight for seats in the boardroom." She smiled softly. "I think I just did." Outside, cars honked, screens flashed, people argued online. But inside that quiet apartment, justice felt still, heavy, earned, complete. She opened her laptop and typed a single message to the company's employees. If your talent has ever been dismissed because of your skin, your accent, or your silence, know this: silence is not surrender. It's strategy. Within hours, her message had over 1 million shares. The narrator's voice faded in over soft, somber piano tones. In corporate America, racism rarely wears a hood. It wears a suit. It shakes your hand and calls you asset. It praises you in public and undermines you in private. But sometimes, the quietest voice in the room holds the loudest truth. Dr. Alana Pierce didn't just win a deal. She exposed a culture. She didn't humiliate them with rage. She held up a mirror until they couldn't look away. Her silence had been mistaken for weakness. But silence in the hands of the strong is precision. It cuts deeper than any shout. And in that moment, when the world watched a Black woman turn oppression into ownership, something shifted. For once, the power narrative flipped, not through vengeance but through vision. Justice, the narrator concluded, isn't always loud. Sometimes it just signs the contract. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. If you believe that respect, dignity, and justice should never be optional, hit like, share this story, and subscribe. Because stories like this aren't fiction. They're reminders that when you underestimate someone because of their color, you're not exposing their weakness, you're writing your own ending. This was the contract they tried to erase. And she didn't just rewrite it, she signed it in history.